Alright guys, so there's been some confusion or issues with people using sanders, namely power sanders like Strimmelbit or like this Ryobi. I don't think anyone's using these, but that'll also cause issues majorly. We got like a mouse, even got a hot iron, soldering iron, and an orbital sander. So if you have a PLA print like this, basically if you leave this guy on here, this is a small belt sander, on there for, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds, it'll actually dig in and it'll cause the print to basically look like crap. So if you look right there, if it will focus. It doesn't like the yellow, but right there. Okay, so that I had the belt sander on there for about 10 seconds, and that'll ruin it. This is way too powerful, and there's nowhere for the plastic, the melted plastic or the plastic dust to go. So it just like sticks on the belt or sticks on the plastic and just digs in further and further. So it will create a really rough surface and basically make the print look like crap. There's the same thing with this one, or with the mouse. Basically plastic dust gets on there and it has nowhere to go. So when you sand it, it just gets trapped, and then the dust will melt, and then the print will melt, and it will just kind of dig in and like leave all sorts of pock marks and like make it look like crap. Now you can fix that with Bondo or filler or anything like of the sort, but whenever you're using one of these or a mouse, or I wouldn't ever recommend using one of these unless you really want to dig into it. Keep it on and then off. So just do a little bit, move on to a different area, do a little bit, move on to a different area. You always want to keep it dust free and cool. So even if you use like a little bit of water to cool it down, because it doesn't take much heat to actually start melting PLA plastic. And that'll make it 10 times worse than what you're trying to get rid of. The layer lines you're actually trying to get rid of will be amplified or even made worse. The one exception is one of these orbital sanders. Now, these do a great job of sucking up the dust, and this mouse to a certain extent too, but they suck up the dust and they keep the surface cool. So they're constantly rotating, they're flinging the dust off, they're sucking it off, and they're keeping it relatively cool. Now these can still dig in and they can still mess things up, but these usually work pretty well for keeping prints cool and making it easier to sand. You can also use XTC and various other methods of actually sanding it down. But for the most part, try to keep away from machines. If you can, if you have one and you want to use it, just make sure to keep things cool, and then you won't have any issues. Now, if it's in ABS, you really don't have that issue, but in PLA, which is the most common stuff, you have a major issue with any of the machines just digging in and creating too much heat and melting the print. So just especially if it's low grit, just be wary, okay?